Welcome to Heart Talks. The purpose and intention for these talks is to inspire, empower, and to bring a higher perspective and community awareness with topics not only in real estate, but also in finance, relationships, wellness, and spirituality. So get ready and enjoy as we share our next episode on Heart Talk. Welcome to Heart Talks. In our next episode, we will be interviewing a mother, a broker, one of our very own broker partner here at RE/MAX Champions. You guys might know her as the iPad Queen. She used to do a lot of trainings. But I want to welcome our dear friend here, Sonia. Welcome to Heart Talks.
Thank you, Alia.
Thank you for saying yes. Lala, you can say Lala, Aurelia. No worries. So thank you. Thank you for saying yes to sharing your story. As you know, we are wanting to connect with powerful women that have a message, women that have a story, leaders in the community, and you came to mind, of course. So thank you for, giving up your time and being here with us. So most of us know you. I know you going back when you used to do a lot of trainings with the iPads. Actually, you were the one that began that whole training era, I guess we want to say, because you were very proficient with that. But before we get into the real estate and the business, that most of us know you as a broker. And I know you've been in the real estate business for very long, maybe over 20, 30 years, perhaps, maybe longer.
26 years.
26 years, wow. I want to go deeper here with your story to just kind of get to know Sonia on a personal level, the real Sonia, the one that we say, behind the business. So maybe you'd like to share how you began, maybe at a very early age when you were a little girl. Maybe was this something that you wanted to do from a very young age, or how did you begin?
No, it wasn't. I didn't know, what I wanted to do. I started working really young, and just because my parents were a little bit strict, so I wasn't allowed to do sports, and I was so jealous, of all the kids that got to do stuff like that, and I wanted an out to be able to associate, because I was a very social person, and so I decided to work. We moved a lot, so it was like every year I was attending a new school. So it got to the point, to be honest, where I would not unpack everything because I knew we were going to move. I didn't know why, because you're little, you're young, you don't really know, right. But I just knew it was going to come. And so, but I embraced that. I embraced change. I had to, I had to meet new people. And now I had a new town I had to, know how to get around because I would have to walk to school or whatever. But just learning that and, getting older, like I said, and just growing up and moving around a lot. But I find now that, because I went to schools in like La Puente, Valinda, and then I came out here to Fontana, my friends that I met in junior high. Then I went to Rialto, and then I went to Colton, and then I came back to graduate.
That is a lot of moving.
In Fontana.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I kind of reconnected with the people I met in 5th and 6th and 7th grade. And so it was a good thing. It was really good because it showed me not to be afraid of change, to adapt. And so here's my senior year. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I didn't know. But what I did know is that I wanted to help people. I wanted to defend and help people. That was just something, because every time I moved, I felt I had to defend myself because you're the new person. And so you had to kind of prove yourself.
In a new environment.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
And so I wanted to be an attorney. That's what I thought. So I registered for college, jumped right into, getting my associate's degree to earn a paralegal certification. And I was in school, and while I was in school, one of my friends at the time had asked me, I was on break for whatever reason, and she had asked me to go with her to Apple One. I don't know if you remember Apple One, but Apple one was a
The
temp
temporary
agency.
service, yes, of
It
course.
was a temp agency, and she said, "Can you come with me? I just don't want to go by myself. I want to apply to get a job." I was like, "Okay." I didn't need a job at the time, so I said, "Yeah, I'll go with you." Well, when I went, the lady told me, "Are you going to wait for her?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "Well, it's about 4 hours. Why don't you
wow.
apply with her? You don't have to take the jobs, but instead of sitting in the waiting room, you can come back."
Wow.
Okay, fine. And the next day, I get a job offer. She doesn't.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So
So it was meant to be. It was meant for,
yeah,
for
and
you to
I
be
truly
there.
believe that there's a lot of things that have happened that I feel I'm placed in certain places for a reason. And so it was for a week temp as a receptionist for an orthopedic doctor. So I get there. Again, I'm used to showing up, not knowing, just jumping right in. And so when the week ended, the manager says, "I bet you can't wait to go home. Like, you're done with this place." And I said, "No, as a matter of fact, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really embraced it and I enjoyed it." She goes, "You know what? As a matter of fact, you've done better than anyone that we've ever had. Would you want a full-time job?" And I said, "Well, I'm in school. Like, I don't know if I can." So I told her, "Let me see if I can, change my classes or whatever." And I was able to. So I started working there. And again, working there showed me, hey, maybe I want to be a nurse. So there was times where I was thrown in the back office because the nurse wasn't there. And I remember one time there was the orthopedic tech, the guy that took the casts off. He says, "Sonia, come with me to do, the patient rounds or whatever."
Sure.
So I walk in the room with him and he says, "Oh, how are you doing? Let me see, your cut or whatever," to the guy. And he looked at it, he goes, "Okay, looks like your sutures are ready to come out. Sonia's going to take them out for you." I had never done that.
Oh, my goodness.
So
wow.
we walked, he goes, "So we'll be right back. We're going to get the stuff and we'll be right back." So we walk out and I'm like, "Are you crazy?" And he's like, "Sonia, listen to me." He's like, "You don't ever show anyone at any time that you don't know what you're doing. Never show someone that you're afraid and never show them that this is your first time. You go in there. You believe in you."
That's a powerful words.
Yes, and it always stood with me. So I walked in there. Oh, I removed those sutures. He was like, "Oh, thank you." And I was like inside, like, what the heck just happened? Like, I don't even know. But it just showed me, number one, at that moment, I did not want to be a nurse. But number two, that it was up to my mindset and how I approached that. So moving fast forward, I had to do an internship because, like I said, I'm in college to be a paralegal to see if I wanted to be an attorney. And it was one of the worst experiences I had ever been. So I went into a criminal attorney's office and it was just all bad. I didn't like it. I didn't like how he treated the people. I didn't like how the secretary was treated.
The
It was
whole
like
environment.
it was bad. And I'm like, okay, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
So I was still trying to find me.
Your place.
And and I had already outgrown kind of where I was as the receptionist there. So it's like, where am I going to go? So I just started interviewing and I became a professional interviewer. It was an addiction for me. It was like, I'm just going to go to prove I could get the job, but I don't really want it. So I would show up to all these different jobs and sometimes I would take it. Sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I'd walk in, be there for 4 hours. I don't want this.
Do you think it was just like the challenge for you, like being able to get the job?
Yes.
It was just like a satisfaction, like a
I think
challenge
so.
that you could prove yourself, I could get this job.
Yes, I think it became that way. And a lot of people would criticize me and tell me, "You're so lucky to even have a job. Why are you doing that?" And I said, "I'm trying to find my happiness. And if I don't feel it, I'm not staying."
That's beautiful.
So I, was doing that. And in 1 year, I think I had 6 or 7 jobs that I kept interviewing, like I said, and just didn't find my place. I finally got hired at Loma Linda Behavioral Medicine Center as a psych tech. I loved that job. And I loved it because I was connecting with people. People who were, trauma, were, wanting
Very sensitive job.
wanted to take their lives. It was just, I was about 19 or 20 at the time.
Wow.
When I had this job. And these are grown women calling me and telling me grown stuff. Okay.
At 19.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, whoa, wait, whoa. Like, it was sad. It was really sad. But I loved that, but I didn't love my environment because it was so political. My manager or supervisor was about 33 years old. And I could see how unhappy she was with her life. And I just was like, I can't see myself being here her age and being like that. Like, there has to be something. I was just always looking for something. There's something. But sometimes I feel like I wouldn't leave unless certain things happened or were done.
You were pushed like it was ready.
Yeah. And so in that particular job, I started making connections with the patients. They weren't supposed to call you. They call an 800 number. You're in a queue and you get who you get. Well, it got to the point where they wanted my direct number. So I started having my own patients who would call me, and I felt like I was their therapist, you know, talking to them and talking them through. I had one man who had a gun to his head, and he told me, I'm done, Sonia. I'm ending it right now.
Wow, that's tough.
So having to walk him through that, and thankfully, you know, he listened, and we were able to get him the help he needed. So I ended up getting laid off from that job, and because, like I said, it was a political thing, and when I got laid off, I had just bought my first home. So no, I wasn't married, had no kids. It's just, I had a girlfriend in real estate who pushed me to buy a house. She says, you have to buy a house. I'm like, why? You know, I was young. I didn't feel like it was
you didn't know.
something I needed to do.
Yeah.
But she pushed me, and I'm thankful that she did. She did. So I'm like, okay, great. I have no job and I have a mortgage. What am I going to do now?
You're right.
So they gave me like a 3-month severance. And so I go home, look through the penny saver because there was
Penny
no
Saver
internet.
back then. Right.
There's no
We all
internet.
remember the Penny Saver.
And I saw they were hiring at the gas company the next day. Like it said, you know, we're having a job fair from this time to this time, first 200 applicants, blah, blah, blah. I'm always what's meant to be is going to be for me. And so I show up, I get there. They're counting, I'm 200. I'm the last person that they let in.
You made it.
I made
the
it.
cut.
So out of us 200, only 7 or 8 of us actually got hired. And I went from like making $12 an hour to like 20. And I was like, thank you, God. Like, you know, you knew what I needed, you know? And so I started now working for the gas company, and I hated it. I hated it. You're stuck at this desk, you know, just taking calls. They're monitoring your calls. If you say one word wrong, you're written up. Like, you're just a robot. And I just wasn't, again, still searching for that. So my girlfriend who got me in, like, or who helped me buy the house, I started hanging out with her a little bit more. And I told her, hey, I would love to get into real estate. I love that you have freedom, that, you know, I mean, obviously what it looks like, right?
Right, exactly.
You know,
you have all this free time.
Yeah, you get to do whatever you want.
You get to schedule your time.
Yeah, we go out on the weekend, and you don't have to wake up in the morning. I do, you know. So she says, you know what, Sonia, if you refer me anybody, I'll pay you $350 to $500 per person you refer me. So what did I do? Okay, how much are my bills? Okay, if I refer her 5 people, I'm good.
That's nice.
You know, so it took me about 20, 30 days. And I woke up one morning and I said, I'm quitting my job and I'm going for it. That's it. If I'm going to fail, it's because I'm failing.
So it was immediate. Like when you made that decision to leave it was the gas company, right? And you said, okay, I'm going for it because you saw, just based on the referral fees that you were getting, the potential.
Absolutely.
And you just jumped. You didn't have to think about it a week or two. You just said, I'm doing it.
I just woke up one morning and I said, if I don't do it now, I never will. And so the boyfriend I had at the time, I told him, I'm going to quit my job, which was steady income, benefits,
Secure.
you name it. It was union, it was everything. And he said, are you crazy? Yeah. Maybe, but I want to do it.
Yeah,
you know?
You felt that fire inside of you.
Yeah. And he says, well, how are you going to pay your bills? And I said, well, I had just bought a brand new Camaro. So I told him, I'm going to sell my Camaro. And he says, well, realtors need cars, Sonia. And I said, my clients are going to pick me up.
You declared that right there.
And he says, okay. So when he started seeing guys coming to pick me up and other people coming to pick me up, he knew I was serious.
Wow.
And I worked until I was able to pay a car cash. And then I bought myself a car. But up until then, I was working alongside my friend, just trying to, I don't know what happened, but when she told me about the referral, I just became this magnet, this real estate magnet. I don't know what happened. I really don't.
Yeah.
It was just all of a sudden my pager, because I didn't have a phone. You know, I
Right.
couldn't
Back
afford
then
a
we
phone.
didn't have that. I don't even. Yeah, it was a lot different back then.
Yeah, this was in the like 96. I
Uh-huh.
did not have a phone, and so I you know, always carried change because I had to run to the payphones or whatever to respond to my or to my pages, and so that's basically how I got into it. And but what something, you know, it's just weird how things change, because once I became into it, I was taking the initiative myself. I wasn't licensed, and I would go to, you know, her office, just kind of watch her. She never took the time to sit there and say, this is how you do this is how you do that. There was no MLS. Like, things were so different then. And but
We had the books,
yeah.
right? Remember the books?
So I was just over her shoulder, you know, just watching and
Shadowing
just observing,
her.
observing. And I remember the one of the biggest months that I had. I think we closed like 6 deals, and I was waiting for her to pay me, and she told me she could no longer pay me, and so she never paid me for those deals. So back then, like I said, I had bought my house. I didn't have a lot of money, you know, I was barely making it, and I would go to the laundromat. I went to the laundromat that day, you know, just thinking, wow, you know, all my money, she's not going to pay me. And so I'm a big Miss Pac-Man person. So here I'm playing my Miss Pac-Man. And I noticed that this man and his children were staring at me. And I was just like, what are they staring at? But okay, whatever. So anyways, I got done, and he comes up to me and he says, I'm so sorry. You know, I'm really sorry for, you know, for staring at you. He says, but my kids and I can't help how much you look like their mom.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, okay. And then he says, she just passed away of cancer. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he says, hi, my name is, and he says, oh, your name? I said, my name's Sonia. They look like they saw a ghost.
Wow.
He's like, that was her name. And so I was like, oh, wow. Like, it was just a crazy moment. And then he says, what do you do? And I said, I'm trying to get into real estate. He reaches into his back pocket and he gives me a card. He says, my best friend owns a brokerage in Ranch Cucamonga. Why don't you give him a call?
And that was the beginning.
And that was the beginning.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know this about you. I've known you for so long, but this story is such amazing. And I don't know, as you were just sharing that with me and with everybody here, it's that determination, even as you speak right now, that fire and that determination that you just have inside of you of not quitting, you know, of just facing whatever's in front of you. So now everything that you shared now and knowing what you know now, going back, and I know, you know, we think about, oh, I'm grateful for this and I'm grateful for that, but we're thinking of the present moment. But now looking back at your younger self, what would you say was the one thing that you could back, I was like, you had to go through it that one time, even when she didn't pay you for the deals or what have you, right? Because she didn't pay you for the deals. But like, what would you say was that turning point, that gratitude for an event, for something that happened that you think back, like, I didn't like it at the time, but now I'm truly grateful that this happened to me because of this, I was able to come out of it in such a powerful way.
I think that, you know, growing up, like, our parents don't really say much to us because they feel like you're the child, you don't need to know stuff. So there's a lot of things that, like, growing up, I'm the second oldest. So my mom always treated my older sister like different. Like, it was obviously different. And so I never understood that. And then, but I think because of that, it made me realize I had to do for me. And that way nobody could take it from me. So I think just being young, I think I was grateful because, like I said, I didn't understand it until I was older. Then my mom sat me down and explained to me, because she said, I see you out of all and where you are compared to all. And it's because of how I was with you. But I think I am grateful for that.
We're grateful for that.
Yeah.
At the time, it felt, and just from, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I know it's emotional to share something like that. But because of that, it built that strength inside of us and that courage to be able to go through challenges and through life in a different way. And sometimes we think back, and, you know, many of us can think back with our parents, you know, why did this happen or that happen, or even with someone else, and we don't understand at the time. And even myself, as I think back, you know, I have something similar situation like that. is, wow, why was I treated this, or why did I have to go through that? But then I understood now it became a gift. It almost kind of seems ironic. It's like, how could you call that a gift? But in a sense, I almost feel like it was a gift to you. Because when we're little, we don't understand it. It seems hard and harsh. But now we can look back and say, because of that, I am who I am. And we can go back and thank it in a way that, I guess almost a way where it's comforting for us. Like, oh, I didn't know I had to go through this. And because of that, here I am. Because every time I look at you, I'm like, wow, she's a powerhouse. She's, she has that fire. Like, where does she get that? But it's so beautiful that you just shared that that came from growing up, from your family, from your mom. And a lot of times, our parents do the best they can.
Yeah.
They do the best they can. And that's one thing that I also understood about my parents. It was like, wow, they did the best they can, but now I can show up different. I can show up different with my kids, with my family, where I'm at right now. So thank you for sharing that. I know that's very, that's a personal story. Thank you for allowing us to hear your story and how you began. And then I want to take it now to, so there's growth in business, and we've seen you grow in multiple brokerages. You're a partner now, and you have your own office here in Ontario, running your own office. So that's the business growth. So I also want to go into the personal growth. What would you say, or what would you like to share here of maybe the challenges, or maybe through your own personal experiences, the growth that you had to go in within you, in your own personal way, a transformation? I know you shared some because of everything they had to face to get into real estate, but is there any personal self-development or transformation that you would think you would like to share to empower someone, or maybe inspire someone, that you had to go through a certain path to get to where you're at right now?
I think
like
that
the inside.
Mm-hmm. I think that to be honest, like I really never, I never felt like, as long as I was feeling everybody around me, I felt I was filled. So I never felt like that was necessary for me. Like I never paused for me.
Can you say that again? Because that is so, we're going to pause for her right now. Can you say that again? Because that is so powerful, what you're saying right now. Say that again.
Okay, so I never, as long as everyone else around me was happy, I was giving them, whatever they needed, I felt fulfilled. I didn't pause for myself to know what I needed. I didn't realize that I needed, anything. And I want to say, to be honest, I think this last year, going through my son.
Yes, about your son, yes. Yes, it's okay. Just take your time.
That was one of the hardest things I've ever been through. And I think it's because everything else, I don't look at anything as being hard or challenging, because I control the outcome. It's up to me. But with him, you walk in and your child is unresponsive. You don't know. You can't control that. And I think at that point is when I realized that there are things missing. And I could be a better mom, wife, friend, but I didn't realize it till that moment, when everything just came to a halt. So nothing else mattered but that moment and being present. And I was never a present person. But I didn't know that. No one ever told me that, except Francisco. But it's just, for me, I always believed I'm providing, I'm working hard, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm loyal, I'm committed. What else do you want from me? So, but like I said, at that moment was hard. And it still is. It's a work in progress, and
healing, right?
Yeah.
You're still healing.
And so you're healing. Little by little, and my aunt passed away last year. She actually was my rock growing up too, because like I said, my relationship with my mom wasn't the best, but that was my mom's sister. And I would call her and she would always tell me, don't be mad at your mom. You don't know what she's been through. She never down-talked my mom. She was always positive and always gave me positive reinforcement. So when she was diagnosed with cervical cancer, she called me, and I spent a lot of time with her, and she, asked me to be her power of attorney. She didn't have any children, and we became really close. Like, we were close, but not like that, and so she ended up passing in July of last year. I sat there with her by myself. I watched her pass, and it was hard, just to see. She told me, I'm done this time, because we were in the hospital so many times, and
She knew.
she said, I'm not going home, Sonia. This is it for me. And it was hard, so having to deal, like I said, I was still dealing with my son, and then that, and so it's just been really tough. And then I think it was in October when Jennifer had said, okay, let's plan for next year, you guys. What do you guys want to do? And I said, you know what, Jennifer? We need self-improvement.
Yeah.
We need to improve ourselves. And that's kind of what I want to do. I don't know that I can give the agents anything anymore. Like, I feel we've given them a lot of classes. We need self-help.
Yeah, like the outside.
Yeah.
Out of the surface, but now going inside.
Yeah.
Going inside and trying. And thank you for just really opening up your heart right now about your son. I know it's a very, it's a tough topic to share. I don't think any mother can even imagine to experience what you experienced with your son. I can't imagine. I have a son, and I can't imagine going through what you went. So I just want to thank you for allowing us to, share that with you here, and for you to open up yourself, to speak about that, because, I know it's hard, and it's still hard. You're still healing. Everybody's healing. The family's healing, and it is not just for the mothers, but the whole family. It changes your life completely.
Yeah.
Not completely, but like you said, it puts everything into a halt. And now the only thing that matters is that, and it's an awakening. I like to call it as an awakening. It just, we don't realize it until we have to go through it. And, I haven't gone through it, but I could only imagine you as a mother. So, I just kind of want to hold that right now and allow you to just receive that, because I know it's not easy. And also trying to manage an office, and trying to, you have other children too, trying to hold it for everybody. And that's why I wanted to invite you to this heart-to-heart talk, because of what you have shared, what we seen you go through with your son and other challenges in your life. I feel that you're very strong, but we also need to talk about what's going on inside, because a lot of times the industry doesn't see that. We could show up and try to put that face, that smile, but sometimes it's hard to just even do that because of what we have going around in our own lives, in our own personal life. And so I feel it's very important that, we share messages like what you're sharing right now, that yes, we could go over forms and contracts and everything, but there's something deeper that we need to share as a community.
Yeah.
And like you said, self-development.
Yeah, no, real estate is definitely, it takes a toll, on any person. You're dealing with different people, needs, wants, and different agents, personalities. And so I think that it's definitely not, this business is not for everybody,
Yeah, we all know that. Especially when you're in the leading. I think being a realtor, and I can speak to that because I got into the management for a couple of years with Manny Badiola. Most of you guys probably know. He was doing a lot of flipping and investments, and I stepped into the management after many years of being in the management. And that's exactly what I learned. I love being a realtor, but one thing for sure is management was not for me. Because of, so many things that are, you're pulled in many different directions. And it might work for someone. Someone might be really good at that. But for me, it definitely wasn't. And that's why, I look at you and I'm like, wow, you're just keeping it all together is just in itself a challenge.
Yeah, it's not, definitely not easy. You just take one day at a time,
And being present, because you really spoke about that.
Yes.
Like I wasn't present, sometimes we get so involved in what we're doing. And what you shared was you were learning how to be present. Like life is teaching us how to be present, because if we're not, it'll hold us And we don't know in which way.
Right.
You know, for you, it was through your son and in many other different ways with your aunt being like your second mom is what I'm understanding. Yeah. So thank you once again for sharing that. So the pillars in your business, because we always have pillars, mentors, maybe even a family member, someone that is our rock, someone that we could really say, this is my pillar. Who would you say your pillar is in your business and personal? Or one or each, I mean, but really, like if I say, who is your pillar? Who's the first person that comes to mind?
The first person that comes to mind, think about my daughter. My daughter's the same way. She's just real, like, you know, open and honest, and Mom, this is, you know, and she's, you know, had good conversations with me too. You know, I never wanted to say nothing to you, Mom, because you always did this for us, but, you know, for maybe, you know, you should do this, and you don't, there's things you don't realize. You don't know what you don't know.
Our kids are watching us.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, sometimes I think like our kids are our teachers.
Yeah.
You know, this future generation is coming in a different way. Not what we were used to or what our parents were used to, but they're coming in a different way. You know, they're not accepting a lot of things that we did.
Right.
You know, they're saying no, I don't want to do that. And they're very clear about, I don't want to work there. Where before we were like, well, yes, you know, I just need a job, right? At least that was my attitude growing up. And I also went to La Puente. I just wanted to share that with you. But back then it was like, no, I have to get a job. I have, you know, like you had it planned out. And now it seems like, no, it's a whole different generation.
Yep.
The internet, the information. So our kids are our biggest teachers. That's what I'm finding out.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to watch them thrive the way they're thriving.
To me, what's interesting is growing up, you know, I looked at my mom and I thought to myself, I don't want to be my mom, because she never worked. She was, you know, my dad took care of her. She was an at-home mom. But my perception of her was she was not happy. She was not confident. If I would ask her to do something, she didn't know how to do it. So I saw like a fear in her to try. And so I always thought to myself, like, I don't ever want to be like my mom, you know? And it's funny because so here I am, you know, I work hard, I do all these things. Right. And then to hear my daughter say, Mom, I don't want to be like you.
You're like, what? And, I know, that's
and
hard.
She's like, you work too much. Oh, you know, you take on too much. You help too many people. That's not me. You know, and so it's interesting how there is no right or wrong way. You know, it's just what's, you know, so you just have to make sure that you're doing what's good for you, you know, as a person. And absolutely. And it's just setting a good example.
And taking care of ourselves. Taking care of ourselves, I think, is very important as women, because we tend to give a lot. That's also been a big lesson in my life, is really taking care of myself, that I'm able to take care of my family or my loved ones, my family. So yeah, definitely. It's sometimes we go and we don't realize how fast we're going. So I know we can, you know, sit here and talk about so many different things, and you know, we have a lot to share. But I wanted to just kind of get to the personal side of Sonia, and knowing all this and everything that you have experienced. And I know, you know, many challenges in your life, especially what you have experienced, the vision, and how is Sonia going to show up now, or how can we see Sonia moving forward, growing in this industry? What would you say in the message you want to deliver here on this heart-to-heart talk?
My family's first.
Family first.
100%. And that was something I struggled with, because I thought this would help my family be first. But so it's just family first. I'll help who wants my help, because I absolutely love helping. That's something that I don't ever want. I actually was just approached to teach at Chaffee College real estate. They've been calling me for a while, and I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, but like I said, I do love what I do, and I love helping my clients. That's something I never wanted to step out of, because it's just, I don't know. And I know some people say, you know, I want to get to this point where I don't have to deal with people anymore. Yeah. That's not me. Yeah. I'm the opposite. I'll continue doing that for as long as I'm able to.
And I think that's a great answer. I don't know. I don't know is very powerful, because we're opening up ourselves to life and accepting what life is bringing us right here in the present moment. So I think that's a powerful statement. Thank you for sharing such intimate stories with us, and I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I just think like a lot of times you don't realize, what people only share, like you said,
What?
whatever they want, but it's because sometimes you feel like, does it even matter to anybody else? And I think that's something how I was brought up. It's like no one's gonna care, Sonia, so just deal with it.
Deal with it, yeah. But it does matter, and you do matter, and our voice does matter, and we're learning to share our stories in case there's someone out there going through the same situation. I mean, not exactly the same, but your message is going to be reaching so many people out there, and someone might need to hear what you said here, and I think that's very courageous. So I just want to acknowledge you for sitting in that chair. You didn't have to share any of this. We could have went straight to business, but you open up your heart to all of us here and just sharing your most intimate feelings, emotions, and what's happening with your family. And I thank you for that, because that takes a lot of courage. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give you a hug.